おはよう。
Ohio. Welcome to the So Japanese podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things that are uniquely Japanese. We are your hosts. My name is John.
My name is Ryusuke.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Today, our topic is family dynamics of Japan.
Okay.
And as well as we're going to have street level Japanese segment at the end.
Cool.
So today's topic, family dynamics. A lot of the aspects of it, I think, are also in general Asian, but some are also so Japanese.
And it's definitely different with Western culture.
Oh yeah,
How the family
exactly
works.
So it'll be good for our Western listeners to get a better insight.
Yeah, and also maybe like Asians, also Japanese people, like they might don't know something.
Exactly. Yeah. So we'll start off by kind of talking about some of the values Japan as a country follows, as well as, but they're also interconnected to how families are run in Japan. So one of the first important value would be interdependence. So I feel like Japan as a country, they are very self-reliant and self-sustainable.
Yeah.
I think they export way more than they import. I think Japan is a top 4 country in the world export wise.
Oh yeah.
And then import, they don't really bring things in. They make it themselves. So I think in terms of family, that's how families are run too. Is that true? Like, we take care of ourselves. We don't necessarily want to ask for help.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's more like they can ask help, but they wouldn't, because of like they feel shame if they ask.
That's so Japanese.
Yeah.
They feel shame. They don't want to burden other people with my family's problems, right? Another one is harmony. So we've talked about it in other podcasts where the Japanese care about maintaining harmonious relationships, everything calm, everything good.
Do not make some big issue.
Yeah, don't make trouble. Even if you feel differently, you don't show it in public or at work, right? So that goes with, I guess, the concept of face, saving face. I think in general, that's a very Asian thing.
Yeah.
In Western culture, being honest is a good thing, right? Like being even brutally honest. But in Asian cultures, in Japan,
you say yes,
even if you're thinking
no. Yes. Yeah. And in Japanese, it's called honne to tatemae.
So that concept is you don't want to make yourself look bad. You don't want to make yourself be embarrassed in front of others or losing respect for yourself amongst others. So a common thing in like when I was a teacher, we were taught to not ask, do you understand, to our students, because in amongst their classmates, they're going to say yes. They're never going to want to say, no, I don't understand, because then it makes them look bad in front of their peers. So we would ask the question, so instead of, this is a snake plant, do you understand? You would ask, what plant is this instead? Or even as simple as like Ryusuke comes into the meeting and he has a a grain of rice on the side of his mouth. I don't want him to lose face. I'm not going to bring it up. But
it ended up, you feel like when you notice you have like rice grain on your lips and then like, oh shit, how long I have this?
But
right?
in front of others in the meeting,
you can't.
You don't want to bring anything up like that. In Thailand, showing anger, losing your cool is a big thing that you shouldn't do because you make yourself lose face. But that's all Asia and in Japan too.
Yeah, Japan same. Like you don't show your emotion.
The thought of like collectivism. You're not seen as an individual amongst your family. Your family is a whole. I think that's also Asian because we address each other by our last name. You're Yamanaka-san. You're not Ryusuke, right? You represent your family.
Yeah.
So that just goes, it's just so deeply ingrained that that's how we name each other, right? Another thing is being polite, being formal. That goes with being harmonious, right? You don't want to cause any rifts, so it's always best to be polite and formal. That's especially shown within the language. Like with our street level Japanese segment, we focus on the informal parts of the language. But when addressing your family or others in public, it's always formal. Always formal first.
Yeah.
Unless we're really close, right?
Because like how you talk, how you acting, it's basically showing like how you growing up with, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in Japanese families, do kids only speak to their parents in a formal way in general?
It's not necessary, but I know some families, especially like dads telling kids, don't speak to me like friend, because I'm not your friend. I'm your dad.
Interesting.
So respect. That means the kids needs to speak in a formal way. So keigo. So this kids always needs to use keigo to dad.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess
it's not my family though. Yeah.
Like the more traditional the family is, the more that they're gonna run like.
But like
that, right?
Yeah. So maybe like to grandparents, if you don't live with them and then you see once in a while, and maybe you go more formal way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you don't know them.
Yeah. And respect.
Exactly.
Right. So that's an important value Japan has. Like even Japan is a bowing country, right? And the main part of that is just to show respect.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's other levels of bowing. Like in Thailand, they have a Y. It's called a Y. So like hands. But like the lower you go, the more respect. Is that the same thing in Japan?
Yeah.
So the lower the angle,
lower
and longer. Okay, the more respect I'm showing, right? Yeah, I feel like in Western cultures, family-wise, parents kind of want to raise their kids, so the kids feel like, don't worry, like I'm your friend too. I'm your parent, but I'm also your friend. But traditional Japanese families are like,
we're no friend. I'm your dad. I'm your parent.
I guess that's also like in traditional Western families as well, right? Super. I know in like my family, we're Cantonese, and there's this saying. Well, we say like "mo ga gao." So if a kid does something wrong or misbehaves, others don't really judge the kid. They judge the parents for not teaching the kid properly. Is that a thing in Japan as well?
Yeah, exactly same thing. And then we have the word too.
Okay.
It's we say in Japanese, 親の顔が見たい.
Okay.
That means basically, I want to see your parents' face.
Okay, so you are representing your parent.
Exactly.
Right? So
yeah, like kids. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you misbehave,
And
acting
then,
wrong, I'm actually seeing your parents' face.
yeah. Yeah, like I want to see your parents' face. Like how they treat you and how come you behave like this way.
Yes.
So people don't think it's your fault.
Yeah.
People think like it's your parents'
fault,
Yeah.
right? So that goes back to the collectivism of the family, right? You are your family. You are not an individual.
Yeah, no.
So Asian, so Japanese.
Yeah, it's so Japanese. Yeah, and then people use a lot. 親の顔が見たいわ.
And something I didn't know until researching for this episode was arranged marriages was a thing in Japan.
Yeah, still, yeah.
So like the two families get together and decide that our kids are gonna marry.
Or like introduce their kids to each other, and then hopefully they get how can I say, they get doing well.
Is it for like status? Like if I'm from a family, a wealthy family, high status, I want my kid to marry into a family that's also the same. Okay. But recently, it's not as common. They use matchmakers, right? Yeah. We talked about matchmakers in our, I think, dating in Japan podcast.
Yeah.
In going with marriages, same-sex marriages are not legal, right?
Not legal yet. Yeah.
Are there like pressure for the government to legalize same-sex marriages?
Yes, I mean there's an organization like they're trying to make it. I mean they're trying to change the law to make sure everybody could get married, right?
Yes.
Even though the same gender people. Yeah, but obviously I think because Japanese government, there's still like old school. A lot of governors are like old.
Classic.
Yeah, male. And
Yes.
they believe why same sex will marry and our population is down. How they gonna have kids?
Okay.
So
okay.
they honestly don't know what's going on in the world. They only see in Japan,
Yeah.
and they believe no, like female and male
Yeah.
should be married together. Yeah.
I guess that goes back to like the concept of interdependence, one of the values of Japan, right? We want to be self-reliant. But because you mentioned that they are having a low birth rate, they're trying to have more immigration. You're trying to bring more people in that way because the Japanese people themselves are not making babies enough, right?
Yeah.
But I did read that some local governments, some cities are offering non-legally binding marriage certificates for same-sex couples. So that's a step in the right
Exactly.
direction.
So like because of like the local governors, a lot of people they want to support, but because of the main Japanese government still like
Super old school.
support old school, and then they don't want to listen.
Yeah.
They don't even think that's the good thing,
Yeah.
right? That's how your own people will be happier, and it shows to the world Japan is a good country.
Yes.
But because of their selfishness, also I'll say like under-educate about these type of issues,
Yes.
and they don't want to change.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
it's frustrating.
it's ignorance of the grumpy old men.
Exactly. Yeah, and they all have power, right?
I've seen news stories about Japanese guys trying to marry their like sex dolls. Like,
Yeah. course you can't.
No, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can marry by yourself and then just be with that all. Right.
Like, I get the sense that Japan is still very a traditional country, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So is divorce common?
No, really. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, people divorce.
Yes.
Yeah. But because of, like, the society, it's like watching you. So they feel pressure for being normal. And normal means you have family and then you stick with them like forever, basically.
Even if there's no love anymore,
Exactly.
we'll stick together.
Yeah, yeah.
But before this, we recorded this podcast, you were mentioning that a lot of older couples now will get divorced
after the kids grown up and
left
then
the house.
Yeah. So yeah, it's called 熟年離婚.
Okay.
熟年 means like, how to say, like old year. 熟年.
Like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, 熟年. Yeah, old year divorce.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to how Japan is very traditional, that even is like the roles of the parents, right? So the man is the one who works. Is the one who brings the money in.
And then the female is always stay home, taking care of house, taking care of kids. So basically they have no status, right? They have no even income.
Okay.
They rely on the husband's financial
support. So even if I no longer love my husband and I want to like separate, I want to divorce, I feel like I can't because I have no money. I've never earned money throughout the duration of our marriage. So we feel more pressure to stay together, right?
Yeah, and that's also why the other thing, 熟年離婚 is one thing, but the other thing, it's called 家庭内別居.
Okay.
It's basically like you're separate in a house.
So you're living in the same house,
but you're separated. So you have different life, but living in the same house and they're doing same thing basically. But like no sleeping together.
But that's I read and I heard that's common. A lot of couples, married couples, don't even sleep in the same bed together.
No.
Either like same room, separate bed, or even separate
room and then yeah.
That's
like,
common too.
It's like one of my friends couple, like same age, so like mid 30, I mean close to 40. They have 3 kids, but last time I went back to Japan and I talked with them, and the wife always telling me like, I can't be with them. I don't like him. Seriously.
Okay.
Then I told them like, so why don't you divorce? But she said like, that time they have 2 kids, but she told me she want to have 1 more kid. And I was like, but you say you don't like him.
Interesting.
And she said exactly the same thing. But I don't want to divorce until I get 1 more kids. And also all kids gonna grown up
and leave the house.
Yeah. And that time she told me like they don't sleep together because my friends is snoring a lot.
That's my same thing. My friend in Japan, when I last time I visited, she had gotten married since, and she said, yeah, we don't sleep together because he snores.
There's always an excuse though. That's the most common excuse. My husband snore too much and I can live with it.
That's just an excuse.
Yeah,
for
but
a
to me
marriage.
it's because already you don't love him.
Yeah,
right, because if you love him, for sure you're trying to fix this problem together. But because you don't love him already or you don't love her, so obviously you want to find an excuse to first separate in a house, and see how it goes, right?
That's very sad.
It's really sad,
right? Like,
but somehow again, my friends, they still together. They got another baby. I hope they're fine. But yeah.
Talking about having babies. So your friends, they have 3 kids, which is very abnormal in Japan, right? Because I know, like we said, the Japanese birth rate is declining. Most people only have one kid. The government is trying to encourage their people to have at least 2.
Yeah.
So what do you know what things the Japanese government are trying to do to encourage?
I heard if you have baby and then you basically maternity leave.
Okay.
And I think in 2 years, if you have one more baby, and then you can extend the maternity leave for another 1 or 2 years.
Okay.
So you don't have to work, but you still get money from government.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the only way. But I think it's still like, how are you gonna pay rent? Okay, so you own the house, or you need to pay rent, or like, how's your income? How's your husband income, right? So why Japanese population is decreased, to me, my opinion is basically financial issue.
Okay.
So government doesn't help enough
Okay.
to get more kids,
Yeah.
you know?
Well as you mentioned maternity leave. I know the Japanese government gives the father
Paternity leave.
any? Very, very little?
I think they have,
Yeah.
but again,
The males don't take it.
if male did it, and most of the time when they go back and they, wow, you actually did it.
Like at work you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
So do you think the fathers feel judgment at work that
I think so. But also I heard a lot of companies, like new companies, they're more support for those parents too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And traditionally Japan is like a 3-generation household. So it's very common for
Grandparents, parents, and kids live together in the same house. Yeah.
in Chinese culture, the firstborn
Son.
is responsible for taking care of the parents. So if I get married, I'm the oldest son, and if I get married, it's safe to assume that when my parents get too old to take care of themselves, they're gonna move in with me. Is that a thing in Japan too?
Yeah, same.
Okay.
Like, first son of my family. I was even thinking like I need to taking care of my family at some point. But obviously I'm abroad in here, Canada.
Yes.
All my family is still living in Japan. And I have a sister, so I talk with my sister like, I'm away, sorry, but I'm still thinking I need to take care of my parents. But she told me like, don't worry, like we taking care of them.
So you had this conversation with
because I am not gonna leave that alone. I know I have to talk with at least my sister to make sure which one will taking care of them.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I talk with my sister, and my sister has house, and my brother-in-law is super nice guy too, and he doesn't mind if my parents retire.
Yeah.
So for now, that's good.
Yes.
But again, we need to make sure which one will take care.
I wonder if I need to have this conversation with
your sister.
With my sister.
Maybe.
I just assumed she would.
No, man.
How about like in teaching in Japan? I never really felt this, but I feel like in Hong Kong, in China, in South Korea, it's a thing where the parents put a lot of pressure on the kids to have good grades. Like if you come home with a test and you got 95%, or you only got one question wrong on the test, they're not going to say, wow, you did a good job. They're going to say, yo, what happened with that 5%?
The 5%.
What happened with that one question that you got wrong? Why isn't it perfect, right? I feel like there's there's a lot of pressure to have good grades. But in Japan, I never really felt that.
Yeah,
Is that true?
I never felt that. I mean, like maybe because my parents, but also if I look around all my friends too, right? Of course, some parents want their kids to be better.
Yes.
So they kind of put them on after school or Kumon.
Yeah.
Or, you know, those like after school. But still, not like, they're not going to say, why you get this point. Maybe few percent of parents who has good status, who went to great university.
Yeah.
And they might going to tell you.
They'll just end up paying for their kid to go to that same university anyway. I thought that it was really nice to see because in Chinese culture, I'm used to like the parents not really showing so much love to their kids. But in Japan, I noticed that it was a bit different. Like the parents really showed a lot of love to their kids.
Yeah.
And I maybe thought like, oh, maybe it's because of the declining birth rate. Like they're gonna we're only gonna have that one kid, so I'm gonna extra show love to that one kid. I'm not gonna put so much pressure on this one kid. I thought maybe it was because of that, but it was nice to see that in Japan that it was different, somewhat different compared to other
Asian.
Yeah.
No, I think in general, Japanese parent is not too strict to the kid.
Yeah.
Like more only for the how they treat kids. I think more westernized.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like do what you want.
Yeah, I got that sense.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. In like other Asian countries, you only for my kid, you only have 3 job possibilities. Either you're a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, accountant.
So many times, right?
Something good job, like a good job, you know, quote unquote good job. But in Japan, they don't really have that pressure.
No.
Right?
No.
They still can pursue what you want to do, what you love to do. The pressure comes from, okay, you decided that you want to cook. You decided that you want to be a painter, but I think it's ingrained in Japanese society. I don't need to give that pressure to you, but you yourself want to be the best painter you can possibly be. You yourself want to be the best sushi maker that you can possibly be, right?
Yeah, but like for example, my parents, when I was high school, I was play music a little bit. Then you know, all the kids, right? One time you have a dream, you wanna be an artist, you wanna be a singer. So I bought the guitar. I told my dad I wanna be a singer. Of course, my dad told me like, "What are you talking about?
Okay.
You know how difficult to be famous and then start making money?" And because I was young too, right? So he was like, no. You go high school, finish. I hope you go into university, and then do what you want.
Okay.
So my parents' mind was like, at least finish high school, but I hope you go into university.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel in Chinese culture and other parts of Asia, high school is not the minimum. It's university
right?
is the minimum.
Yeah.
Like, you're expected to finish high school, and you're also expected to go to university too. Interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned a term, monster parents.
Right. Yeah.
So what's that?
So monster parents is well, the old school parent in Japan. If kids has some problem in school, I mean he or she made some problem with others or with teacher, and then school call the parents, and then parents go in and talk with teacher and then say sorry.
So the
sorry
parents
for
will
my
say
kid.
sorry to the teacher. Okay.
Yeah, but in new generation parent, if they got phone call from school, and then the school told them like your kids have a misbehavior, and they go school and they say, why? My kids are good. We never treat him or her in that way. So there must be some problem with you guys.
With your teaching.
Teacher or school. So they still complain school or teacher.
Okay.
Yeah. So and it was I think it's still big problems between parent and schools because schools wanna make sure everybody is happy, right? Not only one student. But because of this one student make trouble and then trying to call the parents, and then somehow parents involved and it gets bigger.
Okay.
Yeah. And then parents start saying like, well, you guys didn't do well. I'm gonna contact to the media and then talk about this, and then you guys gonna be in the shit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
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 I wonder if I like that actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so talking about education, sexual education in school,
it's still minimum.
Still minimum.
Yeah.
But I feel like in Western culture, everyone, like parents, and you watch TV shows, they talk about, oh, I need to have the talk with my kid, which is like, I need to talk about the birds and the bees. That's what they say. Give them the sex talk, right? Teach them about how to do it, the respect involved. And I've never had that. My parents never had that conversation with me.
Yeah, me neither.
And I think it's a very Asian thing, right? Like it's kind of hazukashi to talk about, kind of embarrassing to talk about, and right. That's
I think they don't know how to say. They don't know how to start having those conversations.
They rather just the schools do it.
Schools do it, or hopefully they don't do mistake and they learn by themselves.
They learn by themselves.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Asian parents never talk about how babies are made to their kids.
No,
but at the same time, they expect you to make babies quick. Give me grandkids.
You know this story, like when the kids ask, like, for example, like my sister asked my parents when I born, and like my sister asked like, so how Ryusuke got born? I mean, like where did Ryusuke come from?
Okay, yeah.
And then parents always talk like, you know, there's a bird, the bird,
a bird,
the animal.
Yeah.
They bring Ryusuke to us.
That's in Western culture, the stork comes with
but obviously it's not true.
I think my dad just said, oh, we found your sister in a garbage can, in a dumpster, we took her home.
So did you actually ask?
Yeah. Well, it's a joke, obviously, they won't be like, okay, so
because
we love each other, we're human,
and,
procreate, and
no. And because the other way, when I was high school, then I brought my first girlfriend to my house. Obviously, parents still there, and then we go my room, and that time I remember my mom told me like, make sure if you do something, you know what you need to use.
Oh, at least they said that.
Only that time.
At least they said that, but it's still not like in depth, right? Talking about safe sex. It's just like
But also maybe because it was me, they know I was kind of like difficult kid.
Okay.
So I guess they know they can stop me.
Yeah.
So at least they want to talk, right? They're not gonna say no, but at least like they wanna give me some, some option or like,
Well, definitely like the next generation. I hope that we as Asians will educate, have that talk. Right. Be more open,
definitely.
Right. With our kids.
Because it's nothing to hide.
I think like what our parents did, the lack of what they did is wrong, but it's also because of how they were brought up. But anyway, there's a terminology in Japan. They call them parasite singles.
Parasite single?
Yeah. And there's a societal problem. I don't know if that's the correct word for it, but so more and more kids are willing to stay at home living off their parents into their 40s. And they call them parasite singles because they're just leeching off their parents. And that is seen as like a problem and a reason for the low birth rate.
Obviously, again, like if you stay with your family over even 20 or 30 or 40, you don't want to bring your partner to your house. Or partner doesn't want to go to your house with your parents live.
So maybe also like lack of sexual education from the parents, but also lack of teaching the kids to be well adjusted, to be able to have a healthy relationship with another person themselves, right? I definitely was never taught that, right? Like, yeah.
Or like, again, maybe because like parents are kind of like not pushing them too much, so the kids felt more comfortable, right?
Yeah.
And like my dad always telling me, after you graduate school, then you start working, you can live here, but you have to pay.
Yes, yes.
Or just leave this house, and then because it's gonna be same, right? Either you pay me or you pay by yourself for your apartment.
Yes.
So
yeah, you have to show some responsibility.
Exactly.
Right?
So if I need to pay, of course I choose to leave my house.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So, but a lot of parents, I don't think they give the pressure to the kid. So then kids, the human being, we like easy life.
Yes.
Of course, if you can choose harder or easier, you go easier. And then that's why those parasite singles are made it up,
And there's recent news stories of parasite singles living off their elderly parents, but their parents die. So their parents are elderly and they're getting like benefits from the government. And the parasite single is living off the government benefits given to their mom. But when their mom passes, they're worried about no longer getting the government benefits, that income, and they hide the body. There's
so many incidents, like sometimes they hide the body, just leave at the futon, she's sleeping, and obviously she's dead, so like she start melting or whatever. Decomposing.
Yeah.
Or I heard the other one was like he put body under the house.
Okay.
So like he make a hole, he dig, put the dead body, and then no claim she's dead. So he's still getting money from the government.
Wow. Yeah. And then
eventually either neighbors or like government people notice like we haven't seen her so long. And when they visit the house, it's like, where's your mom? It's like, 1 year ago she passed away. And it's like, so why you didn't claim? Why you didn't tell us?
Yeah. I think in general Asian cultures, we have like Buddhist temples and stuff like that. And when our parents die or our family members die, we get buried together, or the ashes get put together in the temple. Is that the same in Japan?
Yeah, okay. It's the same. Yeah.
So like family burial is common.
Yeah. Mostly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One last thing, let's talk about this recent phenomenon where, so now again, with the declining population of Japan, that also means the elderly over 65 is becoming a more of a proportion of the population.
Yeah.
So a quarter of the Japanese are now over 65.
Wow.
I'm not sure if that's a lot, but it sounds a lot, I guess.
Sounds a lot.
Because these elderly, they're feeling more isolated and lonely, and they don't, this goes back to this concept that's just so Japanese, where they don't want to burden others. So these elderly people don't want to feel like a burden on their kids, on their family members. And so they're committing petty crimes to go to jail.
Shoplifting or
right. So 1 in 5 people in jail in Japan, in prison in Japan, are elderly, are over 65. So they feel like, hey, if I'm old and I don't want to force my family to take care of me, at least in jail,
somebody can taking care of me. I get a 3 times meal a day.
Wow.
And I have a healthy life. There's always someone there.
Yeah, they have a community there.
They have community there. If you get sick, there's a doctor there. You don't need to pay anything.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a fucked up concept.
It's really, it's so weird. I mean, it's sad. As a Japanese, it's sad. Like, but also I understand like why this type of happen, because like, again, like how they think is like, I have to taking care of myself. I can't ask to anyone, right? And like there was one of my family member, actually she was my mom's aunt.
Okay.
And my mom has 10 siblings.
Oh wow.
It's big family, and living in Hokkaido with the farm for milk. So the aunt always taking care of all the kids, because my grandparents is busy for work, right? And one day she died by herself in a small house. And
your mom's aunt?
My mom's aunt.
Okay.
And same thing, she was already decomposed.
Okay.
So no one was find her like a month.
Oh wow.
And it's in Hokkaido, winter time. She kept the heating system, so the heating system even push her body to decompose faster. Yeah, so my mom told me like my aunt, and I knew the aunt too. And like she passed away, but actually it was a month ago. Someone just found she was dead in her house by herself, lonely. And then my mom was so sad. Like my mom was
Did she have kids herself?
No. So she doesn't even marry. So she was with so brother's family whole life.
Okay.
And ended up she has no one and die alone.
So does this have to do with like the declining population? People don't have kids as much anymore, so therefore no one's taking care of them. If our listeners, if you guys want to give us any insights on Asian family dynamics or Japanese family dynamics, anything that we missed, anything you want us to touch on more, please let us know through our social media. You can leave comments on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram.
TikTok. Yeah, or email info@sojapanese.com.
I feel like this is one of the deeper topics that we have done so far. It might, I think with all our podcasts, we can have more
fun,
episodes.
Nice.
But yeah,
Well, it's necessary to talk about this too, right?
Yeah, right.
We don't want to hide anything what's going on in Japan. So
that does it for our family dynamics episode today.
Yep.
Next, we have street level Japanese.
Street level Japanese.
Yeah, street level Japanese again. For any new listeners out there, it's a segment where we used to share more slang, street level colloquialisms, informal Japanese to help you sound more fluent with the language. Today, we have a word that means really, for real, seriously, kind of in a surprised way, right? To say that.
Yeah.
And that is
Maji.
maji,
Majide.
majide. So maji and majide, you can use them interchangeably, right? They're the same.
Yeah.
Okay.
It depends on like how you want to say. It's basically same.
And it's used for something that in response to something that is good and bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So a couple examples. Hey, Ryusuke, I won the lotto.
Maji?
Or, hey, Ryusuke, I got married.
Majide?
In more of a negative way, hey, Ryusuke, man, I got fired.
Maji?
Or, my parents are getting divorced.
Majide?
So, maji and majide.
Maji.
So those are
Majide.
that's an informal way to say really, for real, seriously. But what's the formal way?
Formal way is 本当ですか?
Honto desu ka? So at work, to someone that's older than you, like if you want to be formal in Japan, honto desu ka?
本当ですか? Yeah.
But informally amongst friends,
Maji? Majide? Yeah.
Nice. Very useful. I
Very
heard it
useful.
all the time.
Right?
I
Yeah.
heard it
I
all
say
the
a
time.
lot of
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that quick street level Japanese segment. Again, thank you for listening.
As always.
As always, we're feeling the love. We're feeling the support. A lot of
More
people
and
are,
more.
A lot of people are consuming our content through TikTok, through Instagram. We're getting a lot more downloads through our podcasts. We would appreciate the continued support. Perhaps you can share our podcasts to others that you think are interested in Japanese
cultures. Yeah.
Or people who watch any Japanese
movie, animes, reading
if you have
manga.
any friends that are interested in that, share our podcast with them.
Yep.
Share our accounts with them.
Yep.
And again, leave any comments. Give us reviews on wherever you find our podcasts. Apparently, it helps the algorithm a lot to push our podcast to new listeners.
Yeah.
We would really appreciate that. So that does it for today.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. ありがとう。
Arigato. Bye bye.
またね。バイバイ。